Soundstripe.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be like a story time kind of video. I just kind of want to bridge the gap of, I mean, it's been like 3 years since I posted anything, so I feel like I need to like catch you guys up on what has been going on. Clearly I have moved. I have, you know, just everything's different. I don't even know how to start this whole thing. This is just a lot, but basically, I am gonna start out by saying that I'm not gonna name any names in this video, just out of respect for not the person, but like their family and things like that. So I'm not gonna name any names at all in this entire video. I'm just gonna talk about basically where I left off and where I stopped filming. So let's see, about 2 years ago, I started having some health problems. I started having like really bad headaches, and my vision was going weird, and I had no idea what was going on. I feel like everyone thought I was a weirdo. Like I was telling people at work, I was like, I'm getting these like weird spots, and like my head was hurting like every day, and it was like unbearably painful, and people were thinking it was like migraine or, you know, tension headaches, cluster headaches, all this kind of thing. I don't know. And, you know, I had no idea because I had never had anything like that. So I kind of took it lightly and just didn't really think anything of it. It took me a while to even go to the doctors, but it got to the point where my head was hurting so bad and I was having trouble seeing, especially when I was driving and stuff. So I ended up going to the doctors, and he looked at my eyes and he basically just dismissed it as like, you have tension headaches. Here's a, you know, use a hot compress, get out of here. And I was like, no, like there's definitely something going on. Like something's wrong. Something's definitely not right. I know my body, and like sometimes you have to be your own advocate when it comes to like health stuff. So he looked in my eyes, and I guess what he saw was something, and he told me, which did not make me feel very good, but he said that he had only seen it in medical school, something called papilledema. So he said that I needed to go to an ophthalmologist and go and get it checked out. Again, this is all like boring stuff. But so I went to the ophthalmologist the next day, left work, went in, and I had like a panic attack because I felt like I couldn't see, and I ended up going to the wrong office and this whole big thing. And so then I ended up going to the doctors, the ophthalmologist, and they said, who told you that you had this condition? Acting like it was some crazy thing. And I was like, my primary doctor said that it's possible, but it was probably like 100% not going to be what was going on, but I just needed to get checked out just to make sure. So I go to the ophthalmologist, they look in my eye, and they said that there was like severe swelling on my brain, and I almost passed out. I was like freaking out. That was definitely not what I thought was going to be. Everyone's like, oh, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And so they told me that basically I needed to go and get an MRI. Again, I'm probably not the best at explaining this, and the timeline, it happened so long ago, it feels like to me that it just, you know, I'm probably not completely correct with the way that I'm describing when and how and everything happened, but I'm trying to do the best I can just to kind of give you guys a brief overview so I can get into my next part of the story. So anyways, I had to get an MRI to basically check for a tumor because the swelling was so severe, and the doctor straight up told me, I don't know how you've been driving like this, with like the way my eyes were. And I was like, oh, that's comforting to hear. So I go, and they didn't have anyone at the time who could, like none of the hospitals or anyone could do an MRI at the time. Again, I don't exactly remember. It was just like such a blur because I didn't think that that's what was going to be happening. So everything else just kind of went blank. And so I ended up, and anyways, jumping forward, what ended up happening is I had a condition called idiopathic intracranial hypertension, which causes papilledema. And basically they call it like a ghost tumor, where it mimics all the same affects as a tumor, like you get the swelling, the visual stuff, all that, but it's not a tumor, and it causes like the fluid in your spine to go to a high level, and then it pushes on your optic nerves and causes you to lose your vision, and without treatment can cause you to go completely blind. There's a lot of complications. So anyways, after that point, after I got diagnosed, I was in and out of the hospital almost daily. I had to get 3 spinal taps total, and they kept removing that fluid to relieve the pressure. I was on heavy pain medication for the headaches because the headaches were absolutely like mind numbing. I mean, you can't think about anything else when your head is hurting like that. And so during this time, I mean, it was probably one of the worst times in my life, just because I felt so helpless. I wasn't allowed to drive. I had to go on disability and wasn't able to work. I literally had to have my boyfriend at the time, who I'm no longer with, he had to take care of me a lot. You know, my mom was, she wasn't working at the time, so she was taking me to appointments and, you know, you name it, getting all my prescriptions. I had to go to a specialist. I had to go to UCSF and stay there. I was hospitalized a couple times. It was just a really, really rough time. And during that time, my relationship, that's what the whole point of this whole video is my relationship was already at, you know, it was not at a good point. It's like my boyfriend at the time, him and I had been together for, God, 5 years. I think we were going on 6 years. So we had been together for a long time. We had lived in 3 different places together, you know, and it's kind of like, I think every relationship hits that point where it's like, it's either going to, you guys are going to grow together and you guys are going to blossom and move forward in life and, you know, get married if that's what you're into, have all the, you know, the whole 9 yards. If that's what you, my point is it's either going to go in a positive way or you guys are going to grow apart in the relationship. And for some reason, it seems like that 6-year mark, at least from people I've talked to, have that same thing where it's kind of like a make or break point in the relationship. And so, you know, I'm sick during this time and I feel like the lowest at this time because I'm, you know, barely able to get out of bed. I'm pretty much at the most vulnerable place that I could be, and I'm not feeling sexy or good about myself or strong or confident or any of the things that I normally always feel. And so it was such a like confusing time for me because that's just not me. And so I could kind of feel him losing interest. And this wasn't just during the time that I was sick. I think it was happening for a while, but I think that we were both in denial. But it was definitely a very confusing time. And I just could feel that he wasn't happy and that his mind was somewhere else. And me being me, I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm not naive, but I guess I always try to see the best in people. I never thought anything of it. I didn't really think, you know, that anything was going on. And there was one situation where I was on like a ton of medications during this time, and I was having bad side effects to a lot of them, like hallucinations. I broke out in like a drug rash is what they call it. I had, you know, I was becoming manic. Like there was just a lot of different side effects to the different medications they were trying to break the headaches and stuff. And so, you know, I needed almost like round the clock care at this point. It was pretty bad. Definitely didn't want to be alone because it was pretty scary to go through all that. And I remember my boyfriend at the time, he told me that he was going to go do some job that sounded weird. You know, when you know someone so well when you're with them for so long, and when they say something that's even slightly out of the ordinary, you just sit there and you're like, this just seems off, you know? And I just remember, you know, just going along with it because what the hell was I going to say at this point in time? Like, I'm sick, I'm at home, there's nothing I can do, I can't tell him he can't go anywhere, and I'm a trusting person. I would never think someone's going to do anything to me like that. And that maybe that's me being naive, or maybe that's just, you know, when I'm in a relationship, I fully trust that person unless they prove to me otherwise. And we had never, well, okay, that's not true. We did have problems, but, so anyway, so he was going to do some side job, and he said that he would be back. I don't remember the time that he said he was going to be back, but basically he was MIA the whole day. And like, oh, and when he got ready, he put on cologne. Never trust somebody who puts on cologne that never puts on cologne, especially to go to a job, a catering job. It doesn't add up. So anyways, he goes to this job. He is MIA all day, cannot get a hold of him. I'm blowing his phone up, not right away, but like later on in the night, because it was getting dark and I hadn't heard one word from him. I think he said one thing to me like in the very, very beginning of the day. And so I automatically like thought something was off. And my cousin was my roommate at the time, and she was dating one of my ex-boyfriend's really good friends. And I asked him, like, do you have any idea, like, you know, where he would be or what's going on or whatever? And then finally, I mean, I'm like calling my dad because I was having really bad vision problems. And I was, you know, it was a scary time for me. I was always like dealing with all these different side effects and feelings and everything with, you know, ups, highs and lows of my illness. And so, I called my dad and I'm like, I literally don't know where he is. Like, this is so not like him. This is so weird. So then he finally came home, and I remember like later on, my cousin's boyfriend, at the time, he was like, his face was beat red when he walked in the door. I mean, like you knew he did something wrong. I could tell. I was like, what the hell? Like, this is so weird. Like, just such weird behavior. And so he came home and he said that, you know, he loved me and that he was sorry and that it just went later and that he didn't have service, blah, 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 whatever. And I believed him, I guess, at the time. And then fast forward to so then I started noticing, mind you, when him and I were together, he smoked a ton of weed, which whatever. I mean, if that's, you know, that's your cross to bear. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say anything. I don't smoke anymore. I don't care about people who smoke. I just don't like people who aren't actively doing anything. Like, he would play a lot of video games, and I'm a homebody, so I can't sit here and say that I'm some like athlete and that I'm out doing stuff, but just in our relationship, he smoked a lot of weed and played a lot of video games and just stayed at home, which I did too, but just in different ways, I guess. But my point being is that he never would go on hikes, and all of a sudden he started going on hikes every day. And of course he chooses to do this during a time where I'm not physically able to do hardly anything. I mean, I wasn't even allowed to like move my head around too much, was on doctor's orders. So the fact that he took this time to like start bettering himself and whatever was definitely suspicious to me. I was like, why are you choosing now when I'm at like the lowest point to go out and start hiking and doing all this stuff and like bettering yourself, right? I'm just kind of like, that is kind of like, not a slap in the face, but it's just weird. It's just fucking weird. Okay, sorry, my camera was overheating. So anyways, back to what I was saying. So anyways, he started hiking and doing all this weird shit and just like being so distant, more distant than he had ever been. And every day I was like, I just need to be strong enough to just like break this off. Like, you just need to break this off. But I'm like, who wants to break up with somebody and like move all your things and do all this stuff in the middle of being sick when you're literally feeling, I was at my heaviest weight. I felt literally uglier than I ever had in my life. Like, I was more sick than I'd ever been. I was weak. I was just a mess, like literally a hot mess. And I just remember telling myself, I'm sorry, I am such a talker that I just stumble on my words because I just keep talking. So you guys will definitely see that. Anyways, so I kept telling myself every day, like, you just need to like leave this relationship. Like, it was so clearly obvious that we both weren't happy. I mean, we both respected each other in a sense, or so I thought. But we just weren't, you know, we weren't happy. We were not happy in our relationship. And one day I remember I literally, like, most days I would stay in bed. I would try to get up and stuff, but I was like so just like physically and mentally like weak. And I just remember getting up one day and doing all my makeup, which I hadn't been doing that much lately. And I like curled my hair and I put on an outfit, even though I felt fat and ugly and like just gross and not good about myself. And I remember I like got out and I went in our apartment complex at the time. There was like a pool, and I went and like sat out there and put my feet in there so that it looked like I was like at least up, because like I said, like I wasn't working at the time. So it's not like I was this motivated girl up, like going to work, like having somewhere to be. I just felt like I was like in the way and like I was just existing basically. And I literally remember doing that and him coming home, and I was like trying to like almost like win his affection back or get him to notice me or look at me or whatever, because I was feeling so low about myself. And then I remember us trying to look pretty, whatever. So he came home and sorry, there's hair floating around. So anyways, he came home and he like had stuff to make dinner, and I was like, ooh, he's gonna make me dinner. Like, we're great. Like, this is fine. Sorry. Having bangs is like the best and worst thing ever. And these lights are making me sweat. Anyways, so I'm like, ooh, he's gonna make me dinner, like I'm looking good, like, and just I'm in total denial, like I'm like hella sick, like just like acting like I am gonna win my boyfriend back with my makeup. Anyways, it sounds so sad and pathetic at the time, but I think there's got to be people out here who relate to what I'm saying, like, and know that feeling of trying to fix something that's already so far gone, but you just feel like you have to at least try. And also I think relationships become like, we were together for almost 6 years, so I think it becomes like a security thing, like, and you're just so used to it and you're like, how am I going to live my life without this person, even if they might not be the right person for you. So anyways, so we had dinner and it was like silent and awkward, and I swear to God, if anyone was in that room, they would have cringed. Like, it was so uncomfortably like weird, and I knew right at that moment the relationship was over. And I was like in the kitchen cleaning, and I kept asking him like if anything was wrong, if anything was going on. And I think I had been asking him for a few days, and he kept saying no, there was nothing wrong. He kept saying there was nothing, that everything was fine, that he loved me and blah, blah, blah. And I remember asking him again, and he still like wouldn't tell me. And then I went in the kitchen and tried to like clean, and I was so like, I was like shaking because I was so upset, and I ended up like dropping and breaking a plate, and I just ran to the bathroom and just started bawling. And I'm like, okay, you need to suck it up. You need to fucking ask the question that you've been waiting to ask, and you know what the answer is, but it doesn't matter what the answer is. You just need, like, this is just a joke at this point to keep this going. It just seemed like so long overdue. So sorry, I got a text message. So anyways, I really hope that you can't hear them talking downstairs because it's kind of loud. So anyways, I went to the bathroom. I literally was talking to myself, telling myself like, you need to suck it up, go out there and just ask him. And so I went out there and I asked him, you know, what was going on. And he literally was like looking at the floor, couldn't even look at me. He was like just so monotone, like no emotion to his voice at all, and was just like, I don't love you. I haven't loved you for a while. Blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, are you serious? Like, during this time, like during all of this, like the worst time of my life, this is when you're going to tell me that you don't love me anymore, you don't want to be with me, all this stuff. And I just like, I feel like I almost can't even remember the whole conversation because it was just so earth-shattering at that moment. I thought, I'm never gonna get over this. Like, I'm sick, I'm a mess, like no one's ever gonna love me. Like, I just could not. I was just seriously so devastated. And I told him, I said, if I call, so basically my dad and I are like ridiculously close. We've always been really close, and he's like my best friend, and his opinion means more to me than, I'm sorry, my hair is really bothering me. And so my dad's opinion like means more to me than literally anyone in the world. And if he doesn't like somebody, then I don't like that person. If he, you know, our relationship is just so important to me, and we're just really close and linked, and he's just helped me through so much stuff in my life. And I told my boyfriend at the time, I said, if I call him to come get me, like, this is it. I'm not that girl who every other week is breaking up with their boyfriend, and this whole, I literally have never been that person. If we're broken up, we're broken up, and that's the end of it. There's no going back. There's no breaks. There's no nothing. So he said, call him. And I knew at that point, I'm like, this is it. This is literally the end of it. So I called my dad. I was hysterical. He said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And he was, and he came and got me, and I got in the car and I went home or went to my dad's house, and I just was a mess. I mean, the whole night I just felt like it was just the end of everything. And so then moving forward with everything, I had this suspicion that there was somebody else, and I asked him and he said no, but I just had this feeling that there was something else going on because of the way that he did it and how he was so disconnected and had no emotion towards it at all. That's what was weird. I was like, there has to be something going on, because there's no way you can spend that amount of time with somebody. And even if you do break up, like I've had boyfriends that I've been with for way less time, that even if they've broken up with me, they've still like cried and been upset and like kind of been back and forth, but then been like, no, this is like, so it was just weird that it was like he had already moved on, and I could tell. And again, it's like when you're with somebody for that long, you know them really well. So, you know how they act, and the way he was acting was just so fucking weird. And so, days after, it's like I had to get my key. Oh, and mind you that we had just signed our 2nd year lease at our condo, right? So he did it literally like the day after or something. Really, really cool. And he was like, I'll pay if you want to like stay in the condo for like the remaining of the time. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I don't want to be anywhere near that place. That was our place. Like my cousin lived there too, but we made it ours. I didn't want anything to do with it. I couldn't be by myself anyways, because I had to have, my mom was taking care of me and all that stuff. I was sick, right? So I'm like, no. And he was like trying to like, I don't know. It's like he was trying to be all freaking strong and smart about the situation and act like he fucking cared when he didn't. And I remember like a couple nights later, I like was trying to get my key, or maybe I wasn't trying to get my key. I was trying to do something, and he kept saying he was on a hike. And I'm like, why are you hiking all the time? And it was like nighttime, like it was dark out. I'm like, who goes on night hikes? Like, I'm sorry, but it was just weird. Like everyone was like, what the hell? Like something is so off with the situation. So fast forward, and I'm like finding out little things here and there, like, and I kind of, and then my cousin at the time, she wasn't even living there. She was staying with her boyfriend. And when I think it was like a week after we broke up, I had to go to UCSF because my vision was going really bad. And I was having like a lot of complications. I ended up in the ER, and they sent me straight to UCSF, and I was there for a couple days, and I'm a mess. I mean, I'm literally sick. I'm at UCSF. I'm, hooked up to all these IVs. I just had another spinal tap. I just broke up with my boyfriend of almost 6 years, lost my apartment. I have nothing at this point, and I'm just literally laying in that bed, like feeling so sorry for myself. And when I came back, my aunt was living with my dad, and that's where I was staying, like came out and was like sitting on the couch and like just being weird. And when like you can tell that everybody is trying to avoid telling you something because they don't want to hurt your feelings, but like you just want to know, you're like, just tell me. And basically my cousin had called my aunt and said like, there's a girl that basically what happened was my cousin told my aunt that my boyfriend at the time was talking to a girl, and I knew he had started talking. I don't remember when I found out that. I think something with like Instagram, like he started following her, and then he started posting pictures with her or something. And then she ended up being at my condo while I was sick in the hospital, and he started packing all my stuff up in garbage bags. And my cousin was telling me all this, and like I was seriously so upset, the fact that she was over there in my room, and this girl, whoever this fucking girl was, and I was so angry. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm going through all this stuff right now, and you're gonna have this girl in my place that I still paid rent for, that was still mine, and still had all of my stuff in it. And what he did is he bagged up all my stuff in garbage bags, moved it all out to the living room so that it looked like I hadn't been living there for a while when I had just been there, and he tried to make it like his little bachelor pad so he could have this girl over and make it look like, I don't know what he told her. Like, I literally have no idea. But basically the minute I found out that she was there and this stuff was going on, I was like, I'm going to get my stuff. Like, this is the final straw. Like, I'm so pissed off right now. Like, and my dad's like, you're not going up there. And he's like, if I go up there, someone's going to jail, like, kind of a thing, you know, like it's typical, like, you know, protective dad. And I called my mom because she was living, my parents aren't together. So I called her, and my sister drove me up there, and we went there, and I had my key, and he wasn't there, but all the lights were on, and you could tell he was just there because he left his phone. So dumb. Left his phone plugged in on the couch when he knows that I have a key and that it's still my place, right? So I go in, and my cousin comes to meet me too. So it's like literally like a woman tribe. We've got my mom, my sister, my cousin, and me. And we're all going there to get my stuff, get what's mine, and like deal with the situation. And I literally was like shaking. I had just gotten out of the hospital. I was so weak. It was just like I was losing like a ton of weight because I was hardly able to eat. Like, it was such a rough time for me. And I just remember like going up there, like all this adrenaline, and walking in, I see his phone, and I just tell my sister, I'm like, literally, I don't even care about people's personal privacy anymore at this point. Like, I'm never gonna get any closure if I don't look at his phone. So I grab his phone, and this girl, they were just texting, and I looked through all the texts, and I was sick. Like, I was sick because this relationship had been going on for way longer than he admitted and made it seem like. And basically, it was disgusting. I'm not even gonna go into detail because it really doesn't even matter. I mean, they had been sleeping together. They had been, you know, he had been looking out to see if my cousin was coming, like, so that he could have this girl. It was like a secret. It was like they were hiding this. And, you know, I don't know if he told her what happened, like with me and being sick and how long she thought we weren't together or whatever he made it sound like to her. And I'm not the girl to like jump all over the other woman, you know, because obviously you don't know, but in the text messages, like she knew about me, and that's what makes me sick. Like, I could never in my life. Why would you want to start a relationship with somebody knowing that they're capable of doing that? Like, why would you want to start a relationship on that basis? Like, knowing that they would cheat on somebody they'd been with that for that long, like start a relationship. And it turned out that the day that going back to what I said about him not showing up until way late and saying he was working, doing some catering thing, turned out he was wine tasting with her the entire day. And then came home and had sex with me. And after a whole day of being with her, which is just, yeah, I mean, obviously you guys can take that and think about that and do with it what you will, but I mean, that's just like so unforgivable and so disgusting. And I don't even know if she knows that, but I don't really care at this point because this is my story to tell, something that I went through. And, you know, so going back to me looking through his phone, he shows up because I text the girl. This is like at a point where, you know, when you've just had it and you're like, I don't even care about, who cares about freaking morals or any of that? Like, I am standing up for myself, which I hadn't done this whole time. I had not texted him. I had not really done anything except for to get like, you know, certain things sorted out because we had lived together. Other than that, I did not bother him at all. And this was like, you know, a point where I'm like, you know what? I literally don't care anymore. So I texted the girl like a little smiley face because he was out meeting her to give her her stuff because she had like been there and left because my cousin came or whatever happened. My cousin yelled at her and told her, or yelled at Tom and told him to get her out of the place because it was still our place. And so I'm getting like fired up talking about this, but you know, it's been a long time. So obviously, like, I mean, I'll never forget about it, but you know, I'm in a way better place than I was. So anyways, sorry, I got like a little fucking bite. So anyways, yeah, so he came back to the apartment. He walks in, my cousin's walking up the stairs, my sister's in the room hiding, she comes out, my mom comes in. So he's literally like circled with all women, and he's just like, you can just tell a look on his face. And my mom goes up to him and she goes, how fucking dare you do that to my daughter? And he tried to like justify it, and he was like, like trying to like talk and try and, you know, just paint the picture differently and try and justify it in any way. And there just was no justification. Like, you literally can't explain or try and make the situation any better than it was. I mean, it was, so he met this girl like at the dentist. Like, I had dropped him off to get some sort of surgery on his gum before, and I believe he met her that way. So they obviously started a relationship, and who knows exactly how long they were talking, but this wasn't just like the minute we broke up, they started talking. Like, they were talking and hanging out while we were together. So that's cheating. He can try and, you know, paint the picture any way he wants to, but that is the reality of it. That's what he did. And I was to the point where, you know, I just told, like, I got out everything I needed to say. My mom, you know, got on him, and then he had the nerve to try and like help me like pack things up. And I'm just like, get out of here. Like, you're disgusting. Like, who does that to somebody when someone's literally sick? Whatever, you break up with someone, you break up with somebody. But cheating, like, I literally have no tolerance for cheating. I just think it's just so gross. It's like, people are in relationships and break up all the time, like, whether it's lengthy, whether you're married, like, whatever, but like, try and have some respect for, you know, the relationship that you had. Because I mean, you're colliding families, you're colliding friends, you're spending all this time together, going through all these milestones in your life, and to leave it like that. I mean, he's the only guy I've ever dated that I will never have an ounce of respect for, you know? And so he ended up getting engaged to the girl 6 months later, and now they're married. So it's pretty funny. And yeah, I mean, everyone I know that knows me, like, this is kind of like, and I always talk about it in such a comical way now, but it's one of those things where, like, you're so, like, at the time it was not funny. Like, I can tell you that I was not laughing at all, any way, shape, or form. But now looking back at it, it's one of those things where you're just like, when you're so miserable and you're so upset that you have to just laugh, because you're like, what else am I going to do in this situation? Like, literally, what else can I do in this situation except for laugh? It's like, it's something that I went through and I got through, and, you know, I ended up taking care of myself, losing a bunch of weight, doing everything the doctor ordered me to do. I just started getting my life back and taking care of myself and getting my happiness back that I didn't have for a really long time. You know, I was on disability for like 6 to 8 months or something, and then finally went back to work. And, you know, everything, I feel like this story is so all over the place, but I think you guys get the gist of what happened. And if you guys want me to go into detail about anything, you know, I totally can. Like, if you want me to go on more about the health stuff or my relationship in general or whatever. But my advice to anyone going through a situation like that is to, you know, just follow your intuition, follow your gut. If you think something's happening, like, I'm not telling you to like play private investigator and try and, you know, but just the thing is like, if someone's going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you. I could have never avoided that from happening. I could have never, you know, I couldn't change that from happening. If someone's going to do it, they're going to do it. And they're the one that's going to live with the guilt. All you can do is be true to yourself. I know that's so corny. It's like such a corny, like, played out line, but it's so true. And you really are your own best friend. And I really learned how to be alone in that situation. Like, I learned that, like, I'm so much stronger than I ever thought. I learned that I could get through not only a breakup, but being sick like that. And my dad even told me, he's like, when I saw you laying in that hospital bed, like, after you and him had broken up and all this stuff, he's like, I didn't know if you were going to make it through, because it was just such a rough time for me. And I did. And I came out on top, and, you know, he's still married or whatever the hell he's doing, but I'm in a really happy, healthy relationship with someone who loves me and respects me and makes me feel good all the time, and literally would never do something like that to me. And yeah, I mean, it all comes full circle. And I think that when you're in a relationship, it feels like everything, and you feel like you're never going to be a person without that person, if that makes sense. And it's just not true. I mean, you know, if I can get out of something that horrible, it's like, you know, then so can everyone else. It's like, we can all get through this. And keeping your friends around, you know, having really good people surrounding you, and also just like finding what makes you happy. And I realized that like, as much as I loved doing makeup, and I still do, I like doing makeup on people, I don't do it that often anymore. And I just kind of, I guess I just started becoming more present and just living life. I kind of went through a little phase of like partying and like, you know, because my camera is going to overheat. But anyways, I went through a phase of like partying, going to like every festival, every show, doing everything I possibly could to get out there. And now I'm kind of, you know, back to chilling, trying to save money, trying to, you know, I'm just working, just living a normal life. But I'm so much happier than I ever was, and I just never thought I'd be able to say that. And I just think it's really important for me to come on here and tell you guys like where I'm at and what happened. And I mean, this doesn't cover everything, but I try to do my best with just giving you guys, you know, like a brief overview of, you know, a lot of fucking shit. So anyways, I love you guys, and thank you for watching, and let me know like what other kind of sit down videos. I feel like these are good for Sunday, because for me, like, Sunday, I get those Sunday blues, or my sister said the Sunday scaries, you know, where it's like you're looking forward to the week, but also not looking forward to the week. And it's just like, for me, it's a day of binge watching on frickin' Netflix or Amazon or whatever, and watching YouTube videos. So I think these story time ones, at least for me, are just like entertaining to watch. So I'd like to get some sort of a schedule going, you know, where I can do that. So anyways, thanks again for watching, guys. I love you, and I will see you in my next video.